welcome to the Chilean educational system and its English curriculum.
There are many past events which mark our educational field. The educational system in Chile was structured along the lines of the 19th century French and German model and highly regarded among Latin American countries. It's divided into 8 years of free and compulsory primary education and 4 years of optional secondary or vocational education. It is important to consider that more than 9/10 of Chileans over the age of 15 are literate.
But first, we need to consider the whole process since the beginning. In 1910, Juan Manuel Egaña created a plan to start the public education for all the citizens, providing the first step to build our educational field.
50 years later, in 1860, we got the Organic Law for Primary Instruction, where it's essential to highlight the principal articles such as the free education and freedom to choose between public and private fields, which was followed by the creation of the law. Obligatory primary instruction in 1920.
Continues with the historical landmarks, in 1927, the government recognized the special education and preschool, building a new and inclusive education.
Later, in 1964, under the Law 15,720, was created HUNAEP, a public entity to give resources to vulnerable students. The next year, in 1965, was created the structure of high school. This happened under the government of Eduardo Frei Montalva.
Next, in 1988, the creation of CIMSE with the purpose of measure the knowledge of students. Then, in 2003, was created PSU. This test gives the score which will allow students to go to different universities and careers.
Lately, in 2006, was the student movement, which promote changes to improve our education.
In 2009 was created the General Law of Education, where some of the main objectives were improve the measure of assessment for different levels in CIMSE and invest in the development studies such as PISA and ICLS.
Finally, in 2015, happened one of the biggest changes in education, where the gratuidad began to allow to the 15% of vulnerable students to access into the public and private universities.
So, let's see the general objectives of English teaching in Chile.
The fundamental objectives are crossed by the common European framework of reference for languages.
First of all, the development of vocabulary expects that the students acquire 3,000 words by different kind of topics and contents through units, where the teacher should select the ones that the students will use actively.
Then, the focus of writing and listening comprehension is connected to vocabulary to achieve communicative skills. Also, it's expected that the student, through communicative needs of the language, achieve B1 level at the end of high school.
So, let's see the curriculum for all levels. The elementary curriculum promotes the development of students and its communication skills. Also, transmits knowledge through cultural forms, traditions, and different ways of thinking. Finally, in 5th and 6th grades, it's focused on listening and reading comprehension.
The main purpose of the curriculum of high school is to progressively promote the development of higher order of cognitive skills and develop the ability to appreciate other lifestyle, traditions, and ways of thinking. The learning of English as a foreign language has, therefore, the purpose of training and personal growth, as well as the purpose of the instrumental order for academic, labor, and other purpose of the youth work.
In high school humanities program, the curriculum focuses on comprehend adapted oral text in normal speed, identify people and relationships, make conclusions, demonstrate comprehension on language, and use the language for ask, give information, exchange ideas, and express feelings.
The methodology used in Chile is task-based, which in simple words is where the teacher doesn't predetermine what language will be studied, but the lesson is based around the fulfillment of a central task. This method has certain stages, which are the pre-task, task cycle, and post-task.
According Branden 2015, interact with others to solve a task allowed students to work for a clear goal, share information and opinions, negotiate meanings, receive feedback on their own language production, and provide a purpose to apply the use of language elements in a contextualized form.
Also, we can find different approaches involved, such as audiolingual, direct method, and grammar translation method. In the English textbooks, there are different activities that fit with the different methods mentioned. Some examples in the Chilean reality are presentations, dialogues, use of, chants, rhymes, tongue twister activities, and worksheets.
Outcomes and identity of cross-curriculum. Its objectives are those learning that have comprehensive and general character, whose achievement is based on the training work of the whole curriculum.
The learning defined in the fundamental objective refers to knowledge, skills, and attitudes. Knowledge as an understanding where information is put in relation or contextualized, providing a basis for discernments and judgments.
Skills refers to the abilities to execute a complex cognitive or motor act with precision and adaptability to conditions that can change.
Attitudes are dispositions toward objects, ideas or people which affect cognitive and evaluate components that incline people to certain types of actions. Advantages and disadvantages of the Chilean curriculum in English.
There are many factors which can be considered at this moment to refer as advantage and disadvantage of English curriculum in Chilean education. By the way, not all the aspects are wrong at the moment to talk about outcomes and the efforts that the government has been making in the last decade to convert Chile in a bilingual nation.
The disadvantages are the methodology applied, the lack of resources where the teacher centered the class on explicit grammar rules, instead to promoting communicative activities. Next, teachers with lack of linguistic competence where the methodology that teachers use to teach is focused only to practice one or two skills. If a teacher has a low level of linguistic competence, his tendency to teach vocabulary and grammar is going to be greater, leaving out the development of skills such as speaking and listening in their procedures.
The English curriculum in Chile has been developing communicative language teaching, CTL, but the majority of the teachers says that they hold this approach when the reality tells us that just a tiny percent can do it.
Finally, the textbooks given by the government contains topics that do not connect with the reality of a student,
making them work with less contextualized units instead of one that could be more meaningful. Advantage. Creation of the PIAP, the English Open Doors program, seeks to foster a new generation of Chilean students, equipped with the tools and abilities that they will need to succeed in an increasingly globalized world.
Also, the curriculum is well organized and gives the opportunity to students to learn since kindergarten. Finally, nowadays we can see that qualified teachers has been introduced to the educational system to improve and build a better base for elementary English education.
With all these facts, we can realize that our educational field has gone through different changes in the Chilean history, modifying, creating, and investigating in research.
As a team, we can say that even though the fact that English doesn't belong to the main subjects of the Chilean curriculum, the government has invested a lot to provide courses, resources, and programs which will carry the language to the whole country.
At the same time, the main methodology applied is well-centered, promoting the development of communication and language skills through meaningful tasks.
However, we still need to improve the quantity of time per week to develop deeper the language. Also, it is necessary to check the topics on textbooks and variety of activities. Finally, we hope that the importance of English keep increased so we can keep improving. That was all.
Thanks for watching.